Hi, everyone. We are back for round 12 of the Crescent City Cup. This is the TWL division. I am Morris Greenberg, and I am accompanied by Will Anderson.
Hi, guys. Glad to be back. We got another great game on tap here. It's once again, we got Ben Schoenbrun. We just saw him beat Julia Bogle in the previous round. And now we have Jack Norman as his next opponent. Looking forward to a really good game here between these two players.
Yeah, and depending on the last score for this round, they might actually be in first and second place. We're still waiting on Michael Willis versus Carl Johnson to finish up. But
I see.
Jack
Nice.
is going to be either in second or third place, and Benji's in first.
Yeah, look at that Collins division update of Evans just steamrolling. Can Evans run the table? That's probably a little premature.
Is he 11-0?
I think he's 11-0, that's quite amazing, especially given the very significant strength of the Collins field. So shout out to Evans for a great tournament so far. Is anybody even close to him? Let's check on that. But
yeah, that's definitely worth checking. And actually,
yeah, I'll check.
One interesting thing about this matchup, Benji versus Jack, is that we talked a bit about last round about, Benji accepting the phony at the end, and that hurts his spread a bit. Jack actually has more spread than Benji. Benji's 9-2 plus 946. Jack is 8-3 plus 1,073. So
Wow.
that spread could matter at the end, because especially if Jack wins this game. And it looks like someone's drawing tiles right now.
It's going to be Jack going first, and it looks like we are underway.
Yeah.
So the only person, just to finish that thought about the Collins division, the only person even close to Evans is Dave Wiegand at 9-2.
Got it.
So, all right, Jack finds his correct play right off the bat.
Yeah, Jiver.
Definitely correct to play Jiver for him here, leaving NT. Nice two-tile combo.
Yeah, I mean, Jiver does everything you want him to play. It scores, it keeps good tiles, it doesn't keep things too open because the J and the V obstruct a lot of things. So it's a great play.
Good start for, I guess you could say, the underdog, Jack.
Yeah, and actually, Jack so far, so Will was saying going into this game, I don't know Jack's rating, but I'm sure he's underrated. He's already gained 65 rating points in the tournament so far.
There you go. So that rating is going to find its natural level, and he's drawn Auction and Caution as a pickup here. You can see that Auction at least will play off of Jiver, assuming Benji doesn't block.
And Curation could also play through the R.
So for you Benji heads out there, it's not looking so good in the early going, but you know what? This guy's never going to give up. His tiles are going to be every which way in his rack, and he's going to do crazy things. Maybe not as crazy as Morris can do in his own games, but pretty crazy.
Well, Benji's having tiles point all over, and he'll have points flying all over.
That's right. Well, okay, so he's getting rid of that X. Tough situation here. I'm actually not sure what play I would favor. Auction looks as good as anything.
Yeah, I mean, the other option is to sort of aggressively try to set up the X there, just because you can play off some vowels. But yeah, that's not going to score a lot of points, and a lot of the time your opponent, especially someone pretty good like Jack, will probably sniff what you're up.
Down comes Curation. That seems better than Auction, just to give it still gives up a big S hook, but it's not quite as bad as the one that Auction gives up, and Auction also gives up a little bit of the triple too. So I think it's worth the 2-point sacrifice to play Curation over Auction here.
Yeah, I think that's right. And one thing we should point out is that often these kinds of plays that play through aren't always as good because it opens up the top side and the bottom side of the board simultaneously. But with the C being the first letter in this, since the C takes no two-letter words, this doesn't do that as much.
It's a really good point. So it's going to be a little easier to keep that board closed with so much of the board cut off from use, like Morris was saying. Wow, Jack has carriage now from that C of curation. And it looks like it will stay open.
Yeah. What is
so
here?
Hive looks fine. It just scores so much.
Yeah.
It scores 42, leaving not a great leave, but not a horrible leave, I guess.
I think that's
it's
right.
really, you can't turn down 42 points, but then Jack is going to keep that pressure up if he sees his bingo carriage, which I'm guessing he will. So not the start Benji would have wanted, but it is still early. Let's see what he picks. He could get a miracle draw here to keep him in the game.
Yeah. And carriage actually opens up the board significantly.
So yeah, it takes that nice closed board and blows it open, but for 60 points, I think you got to do it.
Yeah, and so of bingos, right, this is kind of the best case scenario for Benji if carriage comes down, just because it's not that many points for bingos, right? It's only 60, and there's a lot of options for Benji to kind of carve his own way out of the hole.
So Jack's probably looking, if I had to guess what he's up to, if he's either still looking for carriage. Okay, here you go. You see the tiles are being arranged. He sees it. He's probably going to look through the N and the I and the O just for a second to make sure he's not missing anything. He's not, and down it goes. Big lead now for him, over 100 points. But he gives up a triple.
Again, right, this is a very open board, though. Last game, for instance, when we saw Benji taking a 100-ish point lead, the board already was pretty constricted and didn't really allow for many big plays. So Benji, even though he's down by a pretty decent amount, he can rally back from this. And this is actually a really interesting sort of turn for Benji because it could sort of define how he plays at the next few turns. Does he want to score? Does he want to score a bit less and open a bit more and make it a more aggressive game? He really can sort of shape up the game this turn.
Well, I feel like, is it a given that he's going to play through that E, or would he try to potentially play somewhere else and leave it open? I don't know. I feel like you almost have to play through that E, but I'm seeing some of the options available actually leave it open. Of course, no human player is ever going to, if you're Jack and you see Benji play for a very low number of points somewhere else that's not through that E, you're going to do whatever you can to block the E. So I'm pretty sure some of the value of that in simulation is when the computer doesn't somehow play through that E, which a human will always do. So he chooses Beery.
I mean, sometimes, yeah, but sometimes, like, depending on the player, right? If I'm playing someone like Nigel, right, and he just drew 7 random tiles, I might hope, but you know what? I'm down by so much. If I keep it more open,
sure, yeah, maybe you have to do it.
Time to do that,
right? So that's a good point. Yeah, good New Orleans themed word of Beery. If it's even close, you pretty much have to play Beery, given that it is the New Orleans tournament. Jack has a Z though, and it's going to be very easy for him to score a lot. I think zoned is not the play he should make at this score. Down to the A of Oxen, he can just play Fez there in a much safer way, score a boatload.
He could even do Frozen off of Carriage to get rid of the double-double.
That's true. That's a very defensible choice. It's a couple. I mean, Fez really does nothing to address the openness of the board, whereas Frozen does a lot to do that. At the same time, Fez scores 5 more and keeps a leave that is going to go bad less frequently. So I could see some people play Frozen. I would probably play Fez. That doesn't make it the absolute correct play. I don't think. I mean, some people would play zoned too. It scores 53, leaving FS. That's really nice, but really not at this score. Would I play that? It just opens you up to the nightmare scenarios that instantly swing the game back to Benji, aka a triple through that Z somehow. which Benji has already tripled with a Z in this tournament, as I know from being friends with him on Facebook. And in fact, I am more than friends with Benji. I am BFFs with Benji.
Is that a Facebook option yet or no?
It is for me. Basically, how I've done that is every single person that's not Benji, I've hidden them from my Facebook feed, so I just get Benji updates. So that's taken a lot of dedication. I don't know anything about what any of my other friends are up to in their lives, but that's fine with me.
Yeah, and it looks like the simulation is starting. If you look at the left-hand side window, you can see this Quackle simulation. If for those of you who don't know, Quackle is the sort of computer AI that allows players to analyze games, and so the simulation option allows you to actually iterate a game many times and see how different plays turn out on average. So for win percentage, right now it's saying zoned is the best. I personally wouldn't go that route. I'd play a bit more conservatively than that. I might go with Frozen or Fez, but they're all fairly close.
Yeah, I mean, there is something to be said for taking the extra points with zoned, just because, yes, there are those nightmare scenarios where you get tripled, but it might allow you to withstand some of those not quite nightmare scenarios.
And it looks like he's playing Frozen now, actually, which I would actually go that route. It closes down a lot. And
yeah, it's a good idea. I like that idea. It's more of a board control play than just a points and leave type play. And those are the type of plays that I personally don't make as much as other players. And I think of it as maybe more of a weakness than a stylistic thing. So a good job by him to just protect his lead more actively.
Yeah. And now Benji has to really start to think, because that actually closed down the board significantly, how he can both kind of score here and sort of solve future problems.
Yeah. Well, he makes his play really quickly of atoll with za and a couple of other two-letter words. An overdraw.
Overdraw.
Oh, he's going to lose his S. Wow. Okay, so for those that are any neophytes following along, Jack accidentally drew too many tiles. So the protocol when that happens is your opponent, Benji in this case, gets to pick 3 of the tiles off of his rack at random and choose one of those 3 to dump. And he happened to pick Jack's incredibly valuable S. And that hurts for Jack to lose that S, not only because he no longer has it, but Benji can draw it, which would be a big swing if he's able to do that. Yeah. He can't draw it right now. Obviously, he can draw it in the future.
Yeah. Looking at this board, though, really there's only one S spot left, the curation spot, which could help for bingos, but often S's are more valuable than they are on this board.
It is. I mean, it is still pretty valuable as the way it's set up, but as you know, a couple of the viewers in the stream have pointed out, Jack has a really nice play that's going to drop. It's going to really cripple that S hook. If he sees it, he can play juked, Jouked, an alternate spelling of joked is okay, but it doesn't cut off the S the way juked does. So he's really going to hope. You hope that he's going to see that and really make a problem for Benji. Obviously, curations will still be available if he draws the S with a word with S in early position to start the word or in second letter of the word. Okay, he doesn't. Juked is certainly better than joked here for a couple of different reasons, but he failing to see that word joked is a fine play.
I think that's right.
There just happened to be a better play available there, but that gets a lot accomplished. It blocks the I, the O, the N, so it does a lot. But juked would have been really just a death sentence for that part of the board.
Yeah, joked is a very good play. Juked is the kind of play that gives a real headache for Benji. Is the big difference.
Well, the headache for him right now is he's drawn a Q without any place to play it, and that's really not good for his comeback chances at all. I'm not seeing where he can even dump that. He might have to just play something that doesn't use the Q and hope to get a U with it. Not a good situation for him here.
Yeah. And one thing we can say, though, is even though there aren't that many bingo lines left, aren't Q spots or anything, there are a lot of hanging tiles that allow for future openings, right? The A in Oxen, for instance, the B in Beery. They could, you could make plays hooking those that open up a few lanes. And Wog right here opens up some lanes. So, so even though the immediate bingo lanes aren't there, there are some opportunities to create multiple on this board.
Jack has outdied. That is not a valid word, but I could probably figure out a way to use that in a sentence. Let's hope I never have to. Well, we're all mortal, so we all eventually will have reason to use that in a sentence. From the afterlife.
I only hope I outdie you in the end now.
I know, exactly. But yeah, I'm sure you'll outlive is a word. We all know that. Tough to know what Jack's going to do here. He's not able to score very much. I guess maybe hooking the D with Hived and scoring something there. It doesn't really do much.
That's interesting.
Oh, Edo and Wee, very nice.
Edo and Wee.
That's great. Yeah, Edo is good for a couple reasons. Yeah, you could get a phony S hook on it. Edo does not take that. It only takes ES as a hook, so that would be nice. Wee cuts off a lot of the vowels that can go in front of just WE. Wee. So that would be a really nice defensive play. Oh, Ted. Ted's actually even most defensive of all. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly putting him in a bit of a bind with his leave of DIOU, but boy, does that cut off the new lane, and it really cuts off curations quite a bit too. It was already cut off after WOG, but now it's even worse. So that's an interesting idea. I bet it does better in simulation than usual. Benji plays rehang very quickly, leaving QI again. He's going to have to get some help for that Q at some point.
Yeah.
Interesting
word, right?
No, well, he could always try it, but I don't think that's gonna. Oh wow, Jack drew outvied. So he just had outdied. That's not a word. He just drew into outvied, which is a word.
Yeah. Indevout doesn't play. I'm trying to nothing with the R there, right?
Outdrive, but it's not going to fit. Right. So, yeah. Based on Jack's plays thus far, I pretty much can rule out for sure that he's going to play something like Vide alongside Rehang. There's no way he's going to do that. Even though it scores very well, leaves not well, but nothing's going to leave that well here. He's probably going to play inside with something like Void from Vet alongside Frozen. Something like that seems pretty good.
I mean, seeing how he's willing to keep Val heavy leaves for defensive reasons, he could even play Voted.
Interesting, yeah. That's very emphatically defensive. That would end curations for good.
And really end that entire bottom part of the board for even nines. It would kind of kill off, I guess. Yeah, it would make it very hard for any of the bottom part of the board to be used for bingos. So it's a question of, do you want to really, really end things with absolute certainty for a bit worse short-term value, or do you want to have a bit more short-term value but maybe have to worry about a nest at the end of the game?
Yeah, I bet he's going to go for the emphatic destruction of the curations possibility, and he'll keep UI if he has to. So it's looking like after this game, maybe I will add Jack Norman back to my Facebook feed. I will unblock him or whatever the word would be. I will follow him again.
Get the Will Anderson friendship?
Well, I mean, do I really want to be friends with somebody who can't even win a game of Scrabble on the live stream when I'm commentating? I mean, I have to make that choice.
That's fun.
It's a tough choice. Now, obviously, I'm just kidding. I follow all my friends. That was a joke that I made before. Don't worry, friends of mine. I'm following all of your lives in intimate detail. So I'm seeing him have VO in his hand there. He's gonna play something there.
Yeah. I guess his other thought might even be sacrificing a ton of points to play something like voter or something off of the R and rehang if he thinks that's a more nervous bingo lane, just because the V absolutely kills a lot all the time. Just because
yeah, that's interesting. That would be an interesting idea. I just can't imagine that he's going to do that though, because I mean, has there even been an S on the board? No, there's not even an S on the board yet. So he really has to be. If I'm Jack, I'm thinking, wow, 4 S's. Not not a single S has hit the board. I really need to just cut curations off now while I can with a pretty good play.
So yeah, voted might be the play then. Is voted in the simulation right now? I don't think it is.
Well, I mean, that's the type of play that's not going to sim so well. But actually, another interesting benefit to voted is if you look at the unseen tiles, it's a way, way, way more. It's a consonant overload, I think. Yeah. Let's count it 4, 7, 11, 13, 14 vowels, which would be 14 to 24 consonants or 22 consonants and 2 blanks. So if you're leaving IU, this would be a pretty good time to do it.
They just added J9, and that's way at the top now, if you look.
Oh, adding in voted there?
Yeah, they just added it into the simulation. And he goes for it.
Great. I think that's really good. That's how to play defense. You know, that's a really nice idea. Leaving IU doesn't feel good. You know, people don't like making plays that leave that, but look at how much it accomplishes for Jack to keep his lead here. It's just what the doctor ordered.
Yeah, it's really great.
Dr. Jack Norman, that is.
Sorts of games, when you're up by 100 at this point, you want to start thinking about worst case scenarios and what you sort of have to deal with.
And he is rewarded handsomely with a beautiful draw of, I mean, many 7s in there. Not sure. Maybe there's something to the R. Doesn't even matter.
Yeah, he's now really in the driver's seat even more. Picking up the blank eliminates a lot of a headache of what you have to think about your opponent could have.
Benji can still play. Oh, he plays cheese right there.
I think that's really smart because
with the eyes in hand, yeah, he sets up if for a ton of points.
And as you were saying before, no S's has been played yet. So it really, he thinks he might be able to get another S maybe.
But of course, Jack did just pick up. Well, actually, he didn't pick it up. He left it after voted. He left UI, and he has the ability to just block that off and score 40. Oh, he kept the N? That's interesting. I would have considered playing it, but it's not too many more points.
Yeah, at this point, even though it's a constant heavy bag, if you're up by enough, you want to be able to have some flexibility if Benji opens up something crazy.
That's true. It just really looks like way more. I think I would have for sure played that N.
For 8 more points?
Yeah. It's 8 more points, and you have such a low percentage chance of drawing. I mean, you know Benji has at least 1, maybe 2 eyes left over after cheese. So that's a couple more vowels that you can't draw. So either way, that play is perfectly fine. He's definitely going to hit bingos to the R more often by keeping that N. So it's really splitting hairs much more so than a usual choice that you would make.
And interesting, Avery in the chat says he would maybe play Unfrozen for more defense.
Ooh, yeah, certainly next turn, Jack has that option to play Unfrozen. I probably would have addressed the cue there, but let's see. Well, now Unfrozen's going to be a real pain. So, oh, I bet he has bingos here, doesn't he? Rosinus something.
Yep. Well,
Yeah, so he'll have bingo opportunities after Benji's play of film, which, I mean, he's just kind of hamstrung for options anyway. So I think film is fine.
Yeah,
nothing wrong with that play.
Film over flip though. I think that looks good actually. Now that I think about it, just because often you want to have the extra vowel open, especially when there aren't that many vowels left in the game. You're really just hoping for everything to go right if you're Benji right now. So sacrificing a bit of defense here is probably fine.
Yeah, Benji has, I mean, he's inching closer to bingoing, but I think the score is kind of out of reach. Jack does have a bingo available to him of Rosinus here. I wonder if it's not
I would not play that, actually.
Yeah, I wonder if it's not smart to play. I mean, not only does he get Airscape, I think he gets like Epica or Crappies or something like that, which I did not just say a bad word. I think that's a fish. Don't worry, everybody. I believe it is a fish. Hold on. Let me just get my Ziziva out. Yeah, just that other one. Yeah, so he does have the bingo, but actually it's probably not the best play.
Yeah,
so.
And so the reason for that is just
it is a fish.
In this situation, if you're Jack, you're up by 80-ish right now, and bingoing right, you might be up by 150-ish, but that's really opening up that lane with that triple lane, the triple lane specifically with the R there, is really the only way Benji could come back in this game.
Yeah.
Whereas if you just sort of play more conservatively and block the main lower scoring bingo threats that are available right now, you're going to be continuing to sit in the driver's seat. You might be able to bingo in a future turn if Benji opens.
Yeah, all good points. Doesn't look like he's arranged his tiles a certain way. I don't think he's thinking about. It's totally fine. I mean, I've seen a couple of different, players describe what is your, algorithm when you're faced with a decision. And I definitely think mine is, first and foremost, I look to see if I'm in this situation, I'm looking for bingos, which that's certainly one way to approach it. But I think there are many other players, and maybe Jack is one of these, from how he seems to be so aware of the board developing in certain ways and playing defense. He might be more looking to achieve an objective first and foremost, as opposed to, what bingos do I have? So he's probably not even worried about finding a bingo through the eye that much. And he's just thinking, what are the things I have to do to win the game or not do to win the game? And one of those things to not do is open a triple lane. So I doubt he's even sweating it too much. We'll see what he ends up playing.
Yeah, so Will likes to go the bingo route. I often like to think about in these situations, what are the ways my opponent can win at this point, right? If you're up by 82 points, I start to search for Hail Mary opportunities and sort of try to think about how that can be limited. So yeah.
So given that, let's see if we can try to figure out what he might actually play. I'm sure he'll try to play something a little bit defensive.
He definitely wants to keep at a minimum.
Oh, hello. It looks like he's on his way to finding the bingo. I wonder if he'll be able to determine that it's actually not the best idea to play it. I mean, it's not gonna cost him in this particular situation, but I think it's definitely a situation where our passing is good. Okay, he's decided to make a very defensive play. Except for, wow, it's defensive, except he's played the two-letter word C, S-I, and Benji has both P's. So it's actually, unbeknownst to Jack, made a great lane for him to play a word starting with a P. Not that that's going to matter too much.
Yeah, the one other thing I'll say is that if Jack can play something that puts two tiles to the left of and one tile to the right, like something like Lufa or something, then he's forked the board. And forking the board just means you've opened up multiple lanes at once on opposite sides. But it looks like Benji I'm not sure if he even could go that route, but he's not going.
Yeah, I like his choice here. I like Benji's choice here. It's definitely a great idea. So he could have played both of his P's up there, leaving maybe a slightly better leave, but he's correctly chosen to keep one of his P's, probably because he has that easy lane for PSI, to hit if he draws a bingo with those letters. So good choice to play cap over pip or pap or in that spot.
Yeah, the one issue will say though is Jack will often now play a word starting from the C, something like koi, right? Just so he blocks that lane entirely, and that will end that PSI lane as well. So sometimes I might actually try to divert my opponent's attention away from that spot.
Look at Avery's suggestion there of he has a bingo that if he were to have seen it here, it would absolutely now be correct to play a beautiful 9 of sinuously from SI.
That is beautiful. Wow.
That would be amazing. It would just be a phenomenal play if he were to see that. I am very confident that I would not see it in this scenario because, you're in good shape, clinging to your lead, trying to make a defensive play, but sinuously is just great. Yeah, I would block a couple bingos with the P that Benji will have off of C, hooking that P for Psi. And Benji's going to be able to play those, and I know he'll see them. Ooh, nice idea here. It's certainly going against the grain of Jack's normal, you haven't seen too many plays like this from Jack that are open, but he's thinking with his leave of SUN, he could be a favorite to hit the new lane that he's just created. It is a bit of a change from his normal tack, though. He hasn't been making plays like that.
Back right away. I actually, this would it doesn't suggest much right now, I guess, but normally in those sorts of situations, you have to consider how likely is it my opponent's holding something.
Yeah, boy, that I get why Jack did that, but boy, did that backfire. Now Benji actually has the lead, shockingly. Yeah. I mean, he was in such control, and then he just faltered with his strategy for just a second of keeping on the defensive. The board was so bad. It's very surprising.
Now it's a really interesting game. There are 3 tiles left in the bag now. And this will actually be a really tight finish now.
Yeah, wow. So interesting.
Yeah. And especially, U is especially risky in this game where there were a lot of S's left. There were both blank. I guess Jack had one of the S's and one of the blanks, but there was a lot of good stuff still available. So it definitely was a pretty ballsy move.
Yeah, I'm liking it less and less just because it doesn't jive thematically with the way he had been playing for most of the game. I'm pretty sure he could have just kept going with that same tack, and I mean he just got hit with it would be okay if Benji had played, palsied with Psi there.
Yeah.
It's so many fewer points. Jack would still be in the lead. He would get a triple to play to afterwards. It would just be such a better situation. Now he's really going to have to buckle down. And as Kate has pointed out, thanks, Kate, for the clock updates, he's in time pressure too. So whenever anybody's that low on time, not only is that bad in and of itself, but he's also just endured this gut punch of a play that makes, normally you need a minute or two to collect yourself after a play like palsied. He doesn't have that time to spend.
And one thing we should also say with this is that from Jack's perspective, so Benji doesn't have a bingo on his rack, but from Jack's perspective, he very well could, because the last 3 tiles in the bag are EEN. And wow, Jack is still playing aggressively here, which I was considering this play.
I actually kind of like it now. Yeah, now is the time to be a little more aggressive, holding that blank. Of course, your opponent could have one, but it might be the case that the lead, the 10-point lead that Benji had going into that turn that's actually a lot. So there's not a lot of places to score well on this board. So he may have decided in a split second, because he doesn't have much time to think, he might need to get a bingo down And by making another lane, he can hit a hook to his play that he just made. He can hit the C of cap. So maybe he's thinking he needs to out bingo.
Yeah, and so Benji has 15 minutes, and he's going to take a lot of it because in this situation, there are 8 tiles unseen to him, which means there's 1 in the bag, and so Benji can actually go through each of the 8 permutations.
Yeah, he's got a ton of time. Yep, and he will. This is when to use it. This is why fast player like Benji is. I am a slow player. Unfortunately, I've gotten way better at it. Where sometimes I can play fast, but usually I find myself with not a lot of time at the end. Benji has a ton of time to think this through and figure out how he wants to approach this. If he's going to play 1, if he's going to reach for points because he knows he's got the W and the B that should let him score very well. The question is he going to be able to score enough?
He's playing right away. Wow, this is interesting because
very surprising
would have come down if the U was in the bag.
Yeah, and he played so fast. Well, I mean, that's the whole point of being a fast player is to think harder. Maybe there's a food truck out there that he wants to get to quickly.
So wow, so we don't even have time. I mean, actually, there were only 6 permutations because there were 2 E's and 2 N's.
He hasn't hit his clock. He might just be thinking about it.
So he really only has to go through 6 different permutations. The blank is in the bag, if the A is in the bag, if an E is in the bag, if an N is in the bag, if the S is in the bag, or if the U is in the bag. So
it turns out he will win the game if assuming optimal endgame play on both sides, which is definitely not even safe to assume because Jack has so little time. But assuming optimal endgame play on both sides, it looks like Twit is a winning play.
Yeah.
In this particular situation. But surprised to have seen it so quick, I guess.
Yeah, and
so Jack is in trouble. But Benji has a couple plays that are easy to spot that will be winners, and then the very amazing best play of Beshiver through Hive, but that's not even required to win the game. Pretty much any out is going to do it for him. So, wow. Yeah, okay, Jack has arranged his optimal play of Usnia, which he can play on top of Twit, using the blank as an S for an extra.
Well, he might just play Usnia, not pluralizing here.
Well, that's still not going to be enough. Benji's up by 14. Usnia scores something like, I don't know, in the low 20s, and Benji can just go out for any number of points. He doesn't even have to find his good plays.
Where can he go out?
He can play Cyber in the upper left.
Cyber, yeah.
Caber, doesn't matter. Anything that goes out.
Oh, and I guess underneath Usnia.
Bray, yeah, he can play Bray. Brae. So, wow. Benji, never count Benji out. I already preemptively hid Benji from my Facebook feed. I'm going to undo that decision now because not only that, I vow never to doubt him again because this is a great win for him.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he heard that you were prepared. You were hovering over his Facebook, about to unfollow, and he said, "You know what? I'll show him why Will needs to follow me."
Yeah, great win for him. And of course that hurts for Jack, but I mean, I got to say Jack made a number of really, really nice plays in this game, and his mistake was just faltering for just one moment. And even if you were to look at his play of U, that really cost him the game here. A lot of the time that play works out great for him. The problem is it opens him up to the nightmare scenarios that he endured exactly in this game. A huge percentage of the time, he's going to get more spread from winning this game after his play of U, but then every now and then you lose a game you should have won. And that's really what matters most, I think. So it's tough to resist plays like that sometimes. You have to be very disciplined. I myself struggle with that a lot sometimes when I'm up in a game. I'll make plays that are a little bit too cavalier, a little bit more spread oriented. And every now and then I have to relearn that lesson.
Yeah. And one thing to note, I think Cyber doesn't win. I think that wouldn't be enough points. Jack's up by 10 right now, right? And
Oh,
then
really? So after he plays,
oh no, he'd win by 1. He'd win by 1.
yeah. So he's got a number of plays that win relatively easily. I mean, even Bray, just Brae,
Right.
should be.
Bray,
Oh, it looks like they're recounting. Maybe they might
I think
be.
I think Benji's recounting because he
Yeah.
has so much time left and he wants to make absolute sure that he can win here.
I'm just astonished how quickly he played Twit, which looked like a pretty
Yeah.
good play, and he was just like, "Bam! I'm a boss. I'm Benji. I don't even care about doing this pre-end game, or I solved it."
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, I
turning in that
actually am not
test. He's
sure
turning in
Twit.
that test 20 minutes early, basically.
Yeah, I'm not sure Twit is the best play there because if we go back, if the U is in the bag, Canteens would have played if he played Twit, and Jack would have had.
Oh, okay, all
So
right. But
I'm not sure
what
that.
if the U is in the bag? What is he supposed to do? Is he just supposed to play something blocking that, like Toft or something? I don't even know
Well,
what's.
that's the question. If how probable you think it is of Jack's leave, what Jack could have there. And so the Twit turn, it, he played it pretty quickly, but there's definitely a tough decision where which bingo lane should I block because in some situations, one bingo lane will be open and Jack can bingo. In other situations, the other bingo lane will be open and Jack can
Oh,
bingo.
good point. Good point by Matthew there. He's the S, yeah, the way he's been playing, he almost certainly has the S. Boy, that's interesting. So championship player, which I just had run, is spitting out the play of Brit on top of Tam, which looks crazy to me, but maybe that just blocks the most stuff and it seems like it's deceptively difficult to play to the B, which is right underneath the triple if he were to have played that word. And it basically guarantees him good outs with pretty much anything.
Interesting.
So that's intriguing. Very difficult to decide on that play over the board. You really have to. Boy, if only Benji had 18 minutes of time to think about it, then maybe he could have made that play. Just kidding, Benji. Looking forward to your status updates.
And
Once
actually,
again.
Jackson and Matt Tunnicliffe in the chat are pointing out that blocking the Canteen's lane is a lot fewer points. So in a close enough game, he might not always outrun with that, which is a really good point as well.
True.
So it would have been it was a pretty interesting position. And Benji might have solved it really quickly, which if he did, that would be incredible.
He probably just did a few. He played out. I bet the way he thought about it was he played out a couple scenarios of what he might have or what Jack might have, and he probably came up positive in all of those and was just like, you know what, this seems to be working for everything I can pick. But really, if you have the discipline to do it, you got to try to go through as many tiles as you can to make sure, certainly if it's like, a must-win scenario, which this pretty much is. He's staving off one of his closest competitors in the standings. But ultimately, he did make a play that wins a lot of the time. It wasn't a blunder. If anything, it maybe lost one or two tiles that other plays would have won. And he's finding his normal play. If he's not going to find Beshiver, which is a ridiculous play, this is the next best play.
Yeah. Yeah. So it looks like he finished recounting everything, and now is going to be playing Bray.
And that's going to win with some points to spare. So that's just, yeah, great point in the chat there that maybe he's trying to just make a good play as quickly as he can, right? He doesn't have to find the absolute best play. If Jack is in big time trouble, he needs to find a play that's pretty good as quickly as he can. And that should be enough because it's obviously difficult to play good end games with less than 2 minutes or a minute on your clock. So there is that element that could have explained why he played Twit so fast. That's a great point.
Yeah. But Benji wins this one by 8 points. A really interesting game.
Great game. Pleasure to have seen this one. Really excited.
Yeah, and we saw in the sim even right after Frozen, he was like at 92% to win or something, and Jack only continued to expand his lead. It really shows you that Scrabble is a game that there is that 8% there, and so if you're down, you have to think about how can I put myself in the best situation to maximize on that 8%. And if you're up, you need to think about what are these 8% scenarios.
Wow. I mean, that is a great game to cut our teeth into. What a pleasure. I guess now it's going to be lunchtime for everybody. And for us, we'll be back later in the day, but coming at you after lunch break is going to be 2 games in the Collins division where I think you're going to see Evans either continue his rampage over an excellent division, or you'll get to see his first loss of the tournament, and who will deal him that loss. I guess you'll just have to tune in after lunch in a couple hours and find out. So, yeah, what a nice game between Jack and Ben. Condolences to Jack on that loss. That's tough to lose that way, but I just want to emphasize he made some really, really nice plays in that game that I'm not sure I would have made. So it's instructive to watch him play too. Great win by Benji for sure, though.
Yeah, really great play overall.
All right. So, yeah, that's it for now. And so, like I said, 2 more Collins games coming at you. And Morris and I will be back later this afternoon for 2 more TWL games. Yeah. So check the standings. Check the enhanced scoreboard. I'm sure there'll be updates on when exactly the lunch break is complete. And we'll be seeing you later this afternoon.